to BeMoYu Talks with the Buthelezis. My name is Lesego, and I'm sitting here with Mr. B. Uscelo.
I'm supposed to say something.
Sure.
Hello.
Sure. Today's topic. So today's topic will be talking about love and modern relationship. I know, yes.
Okay.
Modern relationships and how they've moved from what they were in the past to what they are right now. And, life is all about evolution. And especially now, let's just talk about the past 5 years. There's been a lot of change regarding the structure of marriage or partnership or whatever that we call it now. Because we don't have to be officially married for us to be partners and doing this life thing together. So, it's not really limited to...
How do you come up with these topics? As you are talking, I feel like I'm out of my depths on this one. I don't really know much about what other people are doing. I know what we are doing. It's okay. I'll follow your lead. I'll
you actually do know a lot about what other people are doing. It's just that you choose not to remember. You have selective amnesia.
I hear about it when you do counseling, when you talk to other couples. But it's rumors too. It's a grapevine. What's happening out there?
Look at it this way. It's not about comparing, but the relationship that your mom and dad had is different to what we have. And the relationship that they had is different to what their parents had. So evolution has changed over the years. So just playing it back until...
If that's what you're referring to, then was exposed, because you want to talk about your marriage. No, that's cool.
Sure.
I
don't mind talking about my marriage at all, actually. I don't mind. So that's what the topic is about. And I found it quite interesting when it came to me, the topic, because I try not to do too much research on a topic. Let the topic come flow and then do research on that topic.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's the formula that I choose.
So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about sex? Because we could have more. There's more is always good.
There's sex involved as well. In partnership, obviously, there's sex.
Then was exposed.
There's a lot of sex in intimacy. The difference is that what was the levels when we date back to different types of relationship? What type of sexual relationships did they have compared to what we have currently in this modern society? The type of sex,
I'm going to say more is better. I just put it out there.
Yeah. By the sounds of that, you emphasizing that you said you would like more.
Not
particularly.
really. What I was trying to say, you see.
In particular, you would like more. Okay, so I'm gonna date it back to, I don't even want to go too far back. The history of relationships. The reason why we were talking about, actually, we saw something, a topic on, was it Moja Love? Where this other lady was trying to explain that,
it was
on Moja Love. I don't remember what program it was, but it was on Moja Love. There's a lady who was trying to explain what lobola is, and the people are like, no. Yeah, there was a lot of different opinion. So that's probably what planted
the seed.
Okay. But then it went,
okay.
It just went broader and broader and broader. So in the past, marriage, you can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't mind being corrected at all. In the past, it was basically a religious thing and transference of inheritance. Because back in the day, women were not allowed to own stuff. Back in that time, I can't even date it, but a long time ago. I'm afraid if I date it, then I'm gonna have people correcting me. But a long time ago, initially, because women were not, they didn't really have the right to own things in their name. Because at first they were under their father, and then their father then gives them away to some guy.
Oh, so this is a guy now.
Sure. And this, because most of the time the woman didn't really have a choice on who they're getting married to. Most of the time, yes, there was instances where there was love and beauty and all sorts of beautiful things, but most of the time the woman didn't really have a choice on on which house she's gonna then get into.
So do you mind if I then pose a question? I hear what you're saying and I see where the conversation is going, and thank you for this topic. It's quite an interesting little thing to go through. Where does then that choice come from? I'm asking you as a woman. What has changed? What has propelled? Because if you say to me, then this is how I understand it. You're saying in the olden times, there would be arranged marriages, for instance,
yes.
And love wasn't really the primary key factor for people, getting married. I get that, and I see that from history. I see the accuracy of what you're saying from history. If you just look at history, what has changed then? Well, what has made the woman now want to own things, like you're calling it? And what are these things?
To own things, because over the years we've found we've realized that we are self-made. We are human beings who have choices and who would like to continue and leave legacies, our legacies as a woman, not because I am your wife, not as Stella's wife, not as Godfrey's daughter. I want to leave my legacy. What did I do in this realm? When I leave, I'd like to leave a legacy. And in the past, you wouldn't really have, you wouldn't be given that type of opportunity to leave that type of legacy. It will be attributed to your father, or it will be attributed to your husband. So in this time, I think it's more of we can own things now. By my name, I can have a choice of saying, no, I don't want to. I love you. We can have this beautiful thing. We can get married and sign this thing, but I can still be Lesego Sekone instead of Lesego Buthelezis. So we have been given the power of conversation, and in the past, no, we have discovered. Nobody has given us.
Okay.
Because it has always been this, just that we were not really told that we have the power of making decisions for ourselves.
Okay, this is how I see it, and this is just my take. This is just my perception. I'm one to believe that people in the past, because of the structure of raising a family, I'll put it just as maybe cleaner as that. Because of the structure of raising a family, you found that Buthelezis had to go to the big city to go and work because we need some sustenance. Then the wife stayed at home to raise the children. I thought that was kind of I know it sounds a little naive, but I always thought that's what that was based on. So if you're at home and you're raising these children and you've changed your name, these children are Buthelezis, you become a Buthelezis, and your job is to nurture, to grow, and to take care of this family and to build the family. In fact, according to Zulu culture, like there's a certain extra role and importance in you being the woman in the family, because or who makes. So you find that there's
continues the tradition.
Yes, there's a house, but you make it into a home type of thing, And guys then take on that logical role and that reasoning role of, no, I'll go and dig in the mines, I'll go and create some sustenance for us. And I then, in my own conclusions, then thought, in modern day, what has happened is we've had to both till the ground, so we both work. So now the woman goes and she works as well. So now she wants to buy herself a car because it transports her to work. So for me, it's never been about owning things necessarily, I would like to think that when people are married, they own things together so that they build wealth for the children and to grow the family together. But in terms of you owning your things or finding your voice, I thought that just has to do with people just change because time has changed. And now we have to both till the ground because things are becoming more expensive. So now to afford raising, I mean, when I really think about it, the reason why I have that kind of mentality, I remember when I was very young, my parents divorced when I was very young. I remember when I was very young making my own conclusions, and this was me just being a kid, really. Just realizing that, you know, in a household where the father could be a teacher and the mother a nurse or whatever the case may be, it's middle class stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But they can really build a very good life. They can build a happy home because they can work together. So for me, I was just making my own conclusions because I was feeling like my mother is struggling because she's doing this alone, trying to raise us, type of thing. But we always knew where my father is. And I mean, I've seen as a grown man, then when I was growing up, I thought, let me just go and talk to my father. And I started these conversations and we are very well bonded now because I was feeling like now I'm becoming a young man. Show me the way, type of a thing. But I always thought those structures were kind of, you know, just influenced by times are changing. So for me, in that, there's also now the girl child goes to multiracial schools. They go and they meet other cultures.
It's a multiracial.
It sounds like it's a multiracial. When you are a Model C child, to me, Model C, Mina, standard 10. I don't know anything about these grades. Standard 10. No, but honestly, Form 10, Form 1, Form 5. No, but
no,
that's a bit too old school for me.
Don't do that.
But I honestly think that, and in that, I pose no judgment. This is me just coming to acceptance with the way that things have become. Because this is me realizing that, yeah, if people are going to mix with other cultures, they're going to see how other things can be done differently. Obviously, then when you come back home, you still need to understand that you do come from somewhere, and there are ways in which you've been doing things from the household. What I've always believed also growing up is that with a black household, there's always been a two-tone between religion, because that was in my household, religion and doing things what we call traditionally. So there's always that, and you as young people, we're always trying to strike a balance, culture. So for me, then, when I approach the understanding of marriage, I come with that mentality because that's all that I know. I come with the mentality that says, oh, well, I need to build now. I'm the primary look who's ahead of this family. I'm a Buthelezis. I know what the Buthelezis do when Umdwana is born. I know what they do when we get married. All the major ceremonies, I know that there's certain things that are done. I get that. But I was also raised by a mother who was very strong on the religious side and raised me Christian. I do regard myself as a spiritualist more than just religion. And I know that sometimes there's not a big difference there, but for me there is. There is to follow the law of the letter, and that is what I would call religion. So for marriage as well, if I'm looking at it religiously, I would be looking at it as following the law of the letter. But when you become spiritual, you start to understand a human being as a god, as something more powerful. Yes, someone else.
No, actually, no. Actually, you ended up being where I wanted to finish.
Okay.
So anyway, I was saying you're correct with the structures of how marriage was, and yeah, you are absolutely correct. You asked me in particular, what is the difference with the woman right now? You didn't say in marriage or in whatever. I'm just saying with a voice of a woman right now. It's us finding our voice and rediscovering ourselves as, as femininity, as the energy of femininity, how powerful we are. So there's just that movement that is happening, and it's been happening for the past 15, 20 years, and it's just getting more prominent now. Realizing, finding our voice, and things along those lines. This is how then it affected the structure of marriage, because in the past, like I said, there was more suppression with the voice of the woman. You didn't really have much to say, and in contrary with African culture, a woman has been regarded as the matriarch, right? In the relationship, and has been regarded as that Ndlovukazi, Khosikgadi, like it's the titles of a woman immediately when you get married are very important. Even when you get well, because Mina, I know Buthelezis, when I got welcomed, abang busy Buthelezis, bang biza Malebo, because they understand the role that I'm going to be playing. I'm going to grow the family, as in giving birth and everything along those lines. So anyway, so in the past, relationships were more of a dictatorship, because they were dictated, not dictatorship. They were dictated by religion or culture or whatever. So, and it was more of a social thing, social structure, more than a two people structure. Yes, there's the two of us, Yatandana, and we're growing a family, but it was more of a social thing. What I mean by that is the whole thing yokuthi ngiyohlala kwaButhelezis. Now kwaButhelezis kunomkhulu. Umkhulu has izindlu for umama, for different, because back in the day it was polygamy as well. So a different mama would have their own house, things along those lines. So the son, when the first son gets married, and then they live in that house in the same yard. So you'd still be in a communal support. You have communal support, huge support, because kuno mama mdala, kuno mama mncane, kuno gogo actually around as well. And then nani, you're starting a new structure as the continuity of the Buthelezis clan. Mm-hmm. Now, when I have a baby, I have support from all these women who are in this community. Now all that has been stripped away. Like all I had to do with you was for us to just be lovers. We didn't really have to be best friends. We didn't have to be, the certain roles, like I'm a soulmate, the certain roles that came through evolution. You were just my partner, and you were head of the family, and it was clear that when you are going to do certain things, you are going to take care of the family, play the role of the breadwinner. My job is to take care of the house and raise my kids. There was nothing else more to do. Take care of the house, make sure that you are taken care of physically and sexually. And it was that straight, it was that simple, it was cut straight, simple, and that was it. Over the years, it has evolved into, we have moved to the cities, right? Mm-hmm. So now the role that was played by the community in the house now it's been played by two people, Aksena Boko around. And that whole thing, Yoku Kotiza, it's just that it got corrupt in the process, where there was some abuse things, but there was a beautiful thing, Yokotiza, to learn how to run a household for a certain amount of time, because you don't know, this is your first marriage, and then you can then start your own little structure, and then grow from that. So now that has, immediately I get married to you, we start our thing, and there's no support, it's just you and me. I have a baby, I go a kaya for the first 2 months, and then I come back and just continue. You're my lover, you're my friend, you're my soulmate, footing a soulmate, it gets very deep, twin flames, whatever that we want to call it. You play so many roles as a partner, instead of having the rest of the society. There's too many roles. Support. Yeah. That eases that. So now there's a bit of a strain on the relationship compared to what it was back in the day. Because my role was to just have a relationship with you, the kids, it was straight, breadwinner, simple thing, sexually, and even who was initiating sex as well. It was clear which the man would initiate sex. But contrary to a lot of movies, no, but it's called research. I researched the type of relationships that were there. But it has evolved. That's why I wanted to go in the history. A lot of dynamics have changed. And we're expecting so much from just two people. Mm-hmm. Too many roles are being played from just two people. Now I'm expecting you to be my buddy. At the same time, you must be, I'm your lover. At the same time, we are parents. At the same time, we are sometimes, especially us, we are business partners. And there's so many roles that we are playing in the same structure with not much support. So this is why there's a bit of a breakdown with the relationship. And again, there's different types of relationships. There's like the heterosexual relationship, there's the same sex, so each and every relationship has its own dynamics. Now, what I wanted us to talk about is that how do we, how do we redefine love in the modern time? Heavy topic.
Look, I've always tried to simplify my part and my role in the whole thing. I genuinely believe that what we call actions or that navigating through, it has some influences. There's habits there, there's behavior there, and those are things, most of them, that we adopt from home. So how you were raised, by and large, just kind of ends up dictating the direction that you're going to take. And I understand my role in that, and I see also why there's a need for me as a spiritualist to mature above that, to be able to also be an observer, to listen, to do things a little bit differently, to try and make things a little bit more comfortable. That part I get, and that's me making a choice to do that. But having said that, I would never neglect or leave behind the role that, like you are saying, which the roles were different. So we were raised differently by people who believed differently. You only know what you know, and those people did best with
what they knew.
That's what they knew.
And that was the best system at the time.
And it worked perfectly. So for me, I genuinely then believe that if you vest yourself in whatever system, the people that say communism is better than. For me, if you are in any role and you give yourself fully to it, it works and it has its shortcomings. That's just how the cookie crumbles. And you find your way through the shortcomings and see how you can best play a role to transcend yourself and to grow yourself. That's what I've always believed, because now, to make the things practical, what I'm trying to say practical, if you are raised in a household where, I'll speak about myself because that's what I know. I don't want to talk too much about, I was raised by a Christian woman. So she raised me in a way, and a divorcee at that. So she raised me in a way that I critically looked at the role of men in society in general. So when you say, yes, we used to have support in the past, I see the logic of what you're saying. Now there's still support, because she then substituted what she could not have at the village with church. So I still got my fix of having, other forces around me that can help guide me in what it means to be a young man. Granted, a boy needs his father, and I get all those things, and I'm not really talking too low, because I want to be specific about how I came up. So now I'm at a stage where I have to then determine for myself, as a family, are we then going at it Christian? Are we going at it, what position do I take? Because at the end of the day, I answer for this family. I answer for, whatever that we're going to grow, that we're going to call our family. And I'm clear about those things for me, for my part. And I do understand, because I sit with other people and we listen to people's concerns. There's issues of, let's say maybe there's cheating or whatever. And sometimes when you really try to boil down to what has really happened so that we can help this person get past, because the work of coaching and counseling is really about helping a person accept. It's really about helping a person get past a certain thought that they are stuck in. So yes, now there's been a cheating. Why are you so stuck in it? You'll find that half the time it boils down to, I don't know what is this thing that you are now introducing to us. I was not raised this way. I did not expect this. So there are expectations that are betrayed. So me, I'd rather speak more about behavior, habits, expectations.
Sure. And that's what I'm getting to. It's a build-up.
Hey man, it's a heavy topic.
No, it's a heavy topic.
But yeah, I appreciate it. It's quite interesting to reflect on it.
What replaced tradition or what replaced tradition or religion or culture regarding those systems of what marriage was is now conversation. Right? So, and you know how I believe which language shapes your experience. So I believe a lot, I believe in conversations, and I actually believe in not really fights, but disagreements. in partnerships, because the most powerful thing that you can go through is what then came out of that disagreement. You know, that there's a lot of growth out of the fight. So we don't understand when in other relationships where they say, but we fight a lot, and that's actually a good thing sometimes, because then you are trying to discover what works for both of you. Because after each and every disagreement, it shouldn't be like we shouldn't get black eyes and things out of it. There should be, preferably, where you come out of this conversation, these are the results that came out of it. Then we grow better as people. So that whole thing right now the whole structure of what marriage was back in the day has fallen off, because we are unraveling each other, we are discovering each other, and we found that we are responding to our behavior, like you were saying. It's either we react or we actually just deal with the situation. It depends on reaction, or you just recommitting to whatever the result was. So I think marriage has just, not even marriage, partnership, relationships has come to that.
Well, look, I want to agree, but I'm busy digesting what you're saying. And I really get it at some level or another. You must understand, in our relationship, I've always let you fight because you like fighting and you believe in it. And you always say, yeah, but people must fight. There are better ways. There are better tools. There are better...
You just made me sound like wow, okay, yeah, anyway. Okay. I didn't know that about myself, but it's...
No, but you've said this to me before, what you're saying now.
Sure, which
I must fight.
Not must fight. It depends. There must be disagreements for you to go for. If the disagreement did not happen, how would I have known what you hold high, certain things, especially in the beginning of the relationship? Because I come with my own intentions, with my own thoughts of what a relationship is. You come with your own thing. And then we discover what works for both of us through these conversations. And they don't have to be disagreements.
I feel you, but let me say this, because I've spoken to people, and on some level or another, and really went to depths and touched certain pain parts. And I really don't like generalizing, but if you'll allow me for 1 second to generalize, people can be very selfish. You understand?
People are selfish.
So with that selfishness, when we fight, when you argue with me, but you are arguing because already well, have you ever noticed when people are fighting and now you've reached the realization that actually this person is right, but you don't want to go there because, well, you've started on this trajectory, so you must continue the disagreement because it's about winning. And you know how I feel about competition. Plus selfishness, once we add the element of selfishness with competition, that's why my genuine belief in life is we don't compete, we complement. If I can live my life that way, then I can be the best me that I can be. For me, I don't impose that on other people, but just from my walks of life and the people that I've interacted with and the things that I've done, and I genuinely now believe that, you know what, I would rather compliment. So if I'm with someone who understands relating to someone by fighting, I must compliment that. That's what I believe in. If I were with somebody else that doesn't really see fighting as an answer, I would compliment that immediately. And it has brought a lot of peace in what we are doing you and I, because one person needs to be the observer. And I like playing the observer because I'm even trained to do that. So I've sat under a mentor who trained me to play an observer. And I've gotten used to, sometimes I just need to listen. Oftentimes I do more listening than talking. Oh, okay, this is how you flow. So this is how you will understand the next person by having the disagreement. Then it's fine. I can play that as well. I can understand it and I can live with that. I don't have a problem with it. There are better tools. There are other ways of doing a thing. And I told you that the last time I was at the show, now that you mention it, I remember the show that you're talking about. I remember we then had a conversation around it, and I was saying because you were saying, I used to like this guy who's making a comment, hey, but he likes to be right. And I'm like, but what does that mean exactly? Are you saying he mustn't be right? What are we saying? What if he is right? And I understand your point, and it made sense to me. Yeah, but there is someone who just likes to be right, and they just want to. And you were saying when they just pump their opinion, that's where the fights come from. If I should become selfish in my opinion, it means I'm not listening to your opinion, and that for me then causes the real challenges that we end up seeing between two people who had an agreement, who had a relationship. So whenever I work with people, I try to get to, okay, what was the agreement in terms of how did we relate to each other? If we're relating by fighting, then I understand why there's so many fights. But if one party is like, no, there's too many fights here, it means somebody else does not relate to this person using that tool.
So what I picked up is that couples need to be complementing each other at all times in all facets, right? That would be, I was listening to Esther Perel, and she was talking about right now with relationship is that there's certain questions like how do you which career is prioritized more? Who's taking care of the kids? Who's waking up in the middle of, because back in the day, traditionally the woman would wake up and release and feed the baby in the middle of the night. So now there's these beautiful negotiations where we are helping each other.
Hey man, the woman needs to do that.
No. The woman needs to sleep. That's what she needs to do after giving birth to the baby. So anyway, so these roles, it speaks to the whole complementing instead of competing. Because what we find in relationship is that people try to, I've actually been witnessing it with young men. I'm quite privileged that I'm seeing that right now because we stay with young men. And push that thing, Una again, she has to do certain things. Bona, they do certain things, and I find it quite interesting that that mentality is still around. That amantobazana, they do certain works, abafana benza certain works, but I'm not.
Let me interject though while you are there, because I thought really that's where you were going to take the conversation in the first place. And let me just say, for everything that was done, there was a reason for doing it. We need to still honor and understand that reason behind it. I grant you that now roles should be different because people want a different output now, and they are doing, okay, now we are folder or whatever the case may be. But I can't blame too much people who still think in that format and in that locus because it was serving a certain need. And without it, when the roles are not clearly defined, we know the madness that can come out of that as well, if you understand what I mean. So wherever we are like, no, but everyone we are all, then it does also play the
that's
lines.
That's where the conversations then come in. It's imperative that we have conversation with who's doing what are we doing, so that there's more of a harmony in what's happening in the routines of the house. What are we doing? We come up with a structure that works for both of us. I say this is the part that I'm good at, and this is the part that you're good at. How can we then blend these things so that it works better? That's why I was talking about conversation. It's important for people to have. I had a conversation. I had an interview, Ipileng, from Ipileng Foundation regarding couples, and I mentioned this, Muti. It's imperative for relationships to have a family meeting where a few things can be ironed out so that there's more harmony in the house. And it's not that I'm saying now don't be the breadwinner. Yeah, I don't like washing dishes. That's very clear. It's a well-known fact. When now time to pay, it's that easy, and that's the harmony that I'm talking about. That's the harmony. And a few things will then be ironed out from a family meeting. Even in a relationship, when you start a relationship, have a few things. Come up with talk. What is your perspective of a relationship? Both of us, we need to have those type of conversations so that there's harmony.
I get you, and while I do agree, with you, what I am trying to say is that conversation is always so extended. when we deal with couples, we must understand that the woman brings umama ke nobaba wakhe, the man brings umama ke nobaba wakhe in terms of opinions that they share on the table. So be that just that structure alone. If now mina la ikhaya, and I remember making this example a long time ago, giving a talk to young men. If like ikhaya, and with us we have that arrangement that I will wash the dishes. I don't mind because it gives me time to think. I bond with the warm water. I just like it. It's part of my processing and thinking. If sesivumelene kanjalo and then ngelinye ilanga sesixabene usungkwatele because I didn't wash the dishes, I can't go back to my father who's used to doing things differently and say to him, yazi baba, hey, asibonisani kahle nkosikazi endlini, we're having problems. Washama is it? To him, there's just the reconciling of
in the first place.
What is going on in the first place? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So while I do agree, because you are very right, communication between the two partners is primary and very important. If you can't talk to me and your husband, I can't talk to you and my wife, we have a serious problem. Because when the hips have faded, when all the things that are glorious, when the breasts have said, the only thing that remains is conversation. If we can't talk to each other, the guy is always
wow, Julie.
But my point is that if we can't talk to each other, then we have a serious problem on our hands, because that's the only thing that remains when people grow old. And we will grow old. Everything else will fade away. All our ambitions, our desires will come to a stage where it's no longer about proving ourselves to the rest of the world, to our society, to our community.
It's just you and me.
And all that we have is conversation at that stage. You understand? So for me, you are right on that conversation is to always be there and be very strong. I'm just saying, it must not be limited to this conversation, because the things that I'm saying to you have the influence, they come from somewhere. And kunabantu that are my support system, just like we were speaking about the support system earlier. There are people that have made me into what I am today. There are people that have made you into what you are today. When we reach some type of a gridlock, even in how we conversate, you must have that person that is close enough to be able to help you think about
that is way too liberal. It's one of the worst things. You go to him with like, there's a certain, but then between the two of you, what works? He always asks.
Yes, which makes sense to us because we
sure, because that's what we believe in.
Then it could be a friend, it could be a very close friend, it could be an older, my older siblings.
Yeah.
There is that benefit of I have that when I have an older sister. I know sometimes we stay for a while, but I know when things get to it, you'll fall to see. The first person that I always think of when I'm confronted, Cindy understands me, Cindy knows me. Cindy will never bullshit me. Cindy will tell you straight because I'm the younger brother. So Cindy will tell it like it, no, we are bad. Why don't you understand? So there must be that. I'm just saying, in as much as there must be a strong conversation, and I suppose this I conclude again. In as much as, so now this is the advice that comes out of this for me. Allow for that, what is the extended conversation as well? And how am I best representing myself? Very authentic in this union, but also in the greater scheme of course, that support will still remain. I know you are right, Mama, which it's no longer the village that grows the child. In our household, that's because of us moving to cities and whatever else. And I get that, but there must
our own little village because
there'll always be a village.
There's quite a few people that get involved in a crèche.
Men will always fellowship.
Sure.
Human beings will always fellowship.
There's always so that's what I wanted us to talk about, which how we replaced those things, how we replaced that structure that was very imperative back in the day, and how we found a way of replacing it. And another thing, another heavy thing that usually comes Uma relationship is that I heard somebody describing a soulmate as a soulmate was the relationship that you have with God in a long time ago. Now we're expecting that type of religious relationship to happen between two people. So I regard you as this. I was thinking, it's research level. I'm being if I look at you,
it's okay. It is what it is.
If I look at you, and these are the things that I don't believe in, right? But and we speak with general couples. Certain people believe in it. So you take that relationship that you had with God and then you replace and then you want your partner to play that role of a god. Hence, I'm a soulmate, twin flames, and things along those lines. And what I think is important is immediately when we shift and discover, and we found a way of rediscovering who we are and finding that the God that we always thought was out there, we're looking for it out there, is within us. Then that's how then the relationship then moved even deeper. And that's what I love about current relationships, because the connection spiritually, the connection emotionally, the connection physically, or is sort of aligned in this time. And I think couples should move into that stage where they combine all three aspects of their being to make their relationship work. So see and separate certain things, because authenticity is about allowing yourself to evolve and loving each and every aspect of you. That's the beauty of authenticity, and every relationship it should be as authentic, because I can't compare our relationship with the relationship. I'll make an example. Or
Wow, so my temple guys.
because they recently spoke. Okay, and then and what's her name? Mandy.
Is it meant or related on the man?
Oh no,
Selena, sorry.
Hey, I can say if you don't know, I can say
that's on you.
That's on you. You will answer to the temple guys.
I want to know you answer the temple guys.
So anyway,
it's the woman. It's the woman you gave me. It's the woman.
So anyway, I'm just saying this whole thing of comparing relationships and how what works for them, you think it'll work for you, has to come to an end, because that's what usually starts the tension of relationships, of comparing. You don't know where that whole zija things come from. They have sex, they travel, they do certain things, and that comparison then kills the relationship. And I think,
Yeah, I'm busy reflecting on what you are saying. I agree. I really do. I suppose just in addition.
Do you agree? That's what you're doing.
I'm agreeing. But just in addition, you must still allow, there is that I as part of that pie theory, there's perception, then there's interpretation. No man is an island. I suppose we can just say, have a stronger circle of influence. Have people that impact you positively, that inspire you, because we can't just say, don't listen to that other couple, do your thing. It is true, you must do your thing. Ultimately, you must make the final call. But you must also have, like, abantu abakhothayo khona manje, umkhele is more than a brother to me. Is more than a brother to me. So whenever I talk to Umkhele about what he's doing with Utsidi, it impacts me one way or the other because he's in my circle of influence. When I speak to Uka about what he's doing with Selena, it impacts me because they're in my circle of influence. But have people that have that genuine honesty and that won't lead you astray and that won't, you understand, just influence you negatively or whatever the case may be. I still say there is still room to learn from other people, to observe other people, to listen to them, to, in fact, it shouldn't dictate. It shouldn't dictate, though. You must still have the final say.
You have to have your own rooted, what roots you as a couple.
Exactly. I think, my parting shot, my final word is something that I say to most couples that I talk to. I say to married people, when you are married with someone, it's not just some one-time thing that you did and then now it is over. To fall in love with a person is something that you do every single day. I wake up every day and I decide to be in this relationship every single day. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, I'm just saying every single day I choose to be here. And you know that I'm present and I'm here because I've chosen to be here. And the day in Filangazati there's some regret or something, I must be able to voice it out. We must have a strong enough relationship that I can say what I'm uncomfortable with. But every single day you work at a relationship, you give it its attention. It needs attention. All relationships are fed by attention. I must give this relationship attention. Konamanja was busy answering my calls to the people at Malebo. They are picking on my dates. And I'm saying to everyone, leave Mondays out of it. My Mondays I have given to my wife. She decides what happens to us on Mondays because we have to go and do our checkups and whatever. So for me, it's clearer that way. No. Kunezinto that I cannot, this is a sacred space, this is a special space for me. So I must nurture it every time, I must keep feeding into it. That's my parting shot, that's my final way to it. Always make sure that you work at it. Every day, give yourself a chance to work at it. It's not just about seeing the negative and seeing the bad. And that's where then I'll be fighting is just, it is a solution. Because sometimes I want to fight so much that I've forgotten even what we started fighting about. Same way that you don't take my opinion. I always take yours. And no one can really pass that bridge. Once I start feeling that way, once I feel like I'm not heard, no matter how much you hear me, it will not go away.
This is a topic for a different day, because then it needs to have, like, in other words, Masibu, the next episode we're probably going to be talking about the whole fighting thing. Because I was just making an example.
No, I'm just saying.
Yo, I'm a Leo. I'm sporty. Kickboxing is my thing.
I was just saying.
Hey, competition is my thing sometimes. So fighting
right.
sometimes it comes in. It depends on how you look at it. Because I don't see it as a negative thing. Like I'm not going in it to kill you. I'm going in it to learn from it. So that's a different perspective altogether. Anyway, that's not
different topic
for another day. So I'm good for today. Thank you so much, Mr. B, for your intelligent opinion.
Always a pleasure to do these talks. But where do you get these topics? Oh my God.
See, surprisingly. Okay, sure. Thank you. Thank you. Please subscribe and follow us. You see,
you always forget this thing.
The marketing part.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Please. Yeah. Hosile TV. BeMoYu Talk. Hashtags BeMoYu Talks. With the Buthelezis.
Tell the other people, but honestly, make some comments on YouTube. I'm always curious to hear what other people are thinking about these talks. There's no gauge except to ask people, what are you thinking about the talks? So, and it helps us to grow, it helps us to reflect a little bit more. We are not attached to our opinions so much that we can't listen to somebody else's. It's always important to hear what other people say. Please comment.
Thank you.
All right. Blessings.